Sandy.
Hi. Hi. Hi, baby.
Hello, Sienna. How are you? Can you hear her?
4.
Yeah. I'm 4.
Go ahead.
That's good. Say
Hello?
Hi, Sandy.
Hello.
Hi, Sandy.
Sienna. Hi,
Oh, now she's...
Hi. Did you want today?
Did you have a good day today? How was your birthday?
Good.
Forbes just turned 8 years old.
How old are you, birthday boy?
8.
8 years old. Ooh, man, you're getting up there. That's like coming up on a decade.
Today?
Are you looking at him?
What?
Okay.
You want to switch? All right.
All right. Say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Belly.
Oh. No.
I like Pippi.
Oh, okay. All right. Sit on me. There's the mic over here.
Hello, Pippi and Sienna.
And everybody in the chat room.
I don't have headphones.
And everybody in the chat room.
I can't do it.
Say hi. Just say hi.
Just say hi.
That's okay.
Just say hi.
Hi. Do you like?
8th birthday. Happy birthday.
Hi,
Mama. Birthday 8. How did that
There
happen?
Good job.
All right. Say bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, close the door behind you, okay? All right. Well, thank you for indulging us there.
Whew.
It's a lot. Oh, big happy birthday there. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Zoe. Let's see. Where are we here? We should probably do a show. We've done a sound check?
I think so.
Oh, she says I'm peaking. Was it peaking? I'm peaking. Not me. Who's peaking? Oh, the kids.
Well, if it's the kids, don't worry about that. They tend to scream into the mic. That's not a good sound check.
Oh, I was just kidding. Okay. All right. We have a lot of stuff to do here today. And I'm on this, you know what? I'm going to put this over here. Well, that didn't help anything. Oh, maybe. So I'm on my MacBook Air screen with the Ricoh display that I told you about a while ago that I've given to Lindsay because I forgot mine. Am I peaking? Yeah, you peaked a few years ago, I'm afraid. All right, I'll get rid of that. And I'm trying to use a mouse here. Makes it a little bit easier. All right, I think I am ready to give it a start, Steve.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, July 28th, 2024, and this is show number 1003. Well, you really should have been in the live chat room this week because Sienna and Forbes were here to join us. In fact, they started off the show. Yeah, it's my microphone. I can put anybody in front of it I want to. Let's get the show started, though. This is hard because I don't have the display in front of me when I'm doing the talkie there. Let's see if I cut that off. Put anybody in front of it I want to. Let's get the show started, though. Okay, right there. I'm going to do a chapter mark. Maybe I should save first. That'll give Kevin something to do.
Whippersnapper.
This is Kevin. What is that from? Is that a meme? Because I saw that as a Snapchat filter, and I didn't know what it was. All right. Oh, come on. There we go. Chapter mark. Chapter mark. It sounds like things are going well in the other room.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much of that the audience can hear.
Yeah, let's hope not. All right. Oh, actually, if I do this, did I just slide that off so you can't see it? Can you still see all of Hindenburg? Yeah, you can. Oh, that's awesome. I can slide some of the useless stuff off to the left that I don't use.
Oh, good.
Give me a little more screen real estate. Here we go. All right. Richard Gunther, no. Richard Gunther, host of the Home On podcast about home automation, and I have known each other for years and years. And when we first met, we said, wow, we get along so great. We really should record something fun together. Well, it took a long time coming. I mean, it's probably been, 8, 10 years since we said we were going to do it, but we finally recorded together. Richard invited me to join him for episode 158 of the Home On podcast at the Digital Media Zone. Everyone seems to enjoy talking about the joys of home automation and how wonderful it is when you walk into a room at a certain time of the day, the music comes on, the lights come on low, and the alarm system locks your house down for the evening. That's what it's supposed to be like. But that's not what we talked about. Richard had me on to discuss the more problematic side of home automation. We talked about our leading IoT devices. We talked about automations that continuously give us fits. It was very cathartic to talk about the hard parts, not pretend that it's all happy, happy, joy, joy. You can find this episode of Home On with Richard Gunther at thedigitalmediazone.com or in your podcatcher of choice. Alrighty. Save in a chapter mark. Too many cables. Yeah, did that. Oh, there we go. Oh, I've got a spot for my arm. This is very exciting.
Audio skipping. Yeah, I'm hearing it a little bit too. I think we may be dealing with bandwidth issues. Forbes is probably playing with the playing Minecraft or something.
Yeah, you might text Lindsay and see whether he is. It's a possibility. All right. Physics nerd Graham is back with the final installment of his series explaining how he creates his physics shorts videos for social media. Now, I've enjoyed every single one of these, from how he uses Typora to audio hijack settings to the advanced tool Isotope RX11. But of all of them, this one you're about to hear is my favorite. So should the chapter mark be there when I set it up, or should it be where he talks? What do you guys think?
It should be where you set it up because you're introducing
I couldn't hear you. You were.
I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
It should be where you set it up.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. I figured people want to tune into where he's talking.
Yeah, but you're giving context to the talk. You're introducing it.
Let's see. But of all of them, this one you're about to hear is my favorite.
It's Physics Nerd Graham here with the final part of my mini-series on my mega project creating A-level or high school physics videos for my students.
All right. You guys don't get to hear that. It's fantastic. It's all about using Keynote. And I learned so much about Keynote. It's really, really good. Excuse me. And I don't think I don't have a mute.
You know, it's not helping that I got a fan going here for the video.
Yeah, I was
so
going to say, it's also
off.
a lot of hiss. Okay, I'm glad he left his mic live while he fixes that, so that I can't record. Can't believe he left his mic live. Steve, put your headphones on. Thanks for leaving your mic live while you did that. I've just been waiting to record.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I sang the Jeopardy theme song for the audience while you were gone. All right, here we go. Okay, I told you that one was fantastic, didn't I? I learned so much from this very practical example of things that I never knew Keynote could do. Doing animations in Keynote has always been a kind of a bit of a mystery to me, I should say. But with some of Graham's tips, I finally was able to do a tiny bit of it for my MacStock presentation. The single tip that helps the most is noticing that build order button on the bottom of the pane. I knew it was there, but I always forget about it because it's in such a weird spot down at the bottom. The biggest thing that blew my mind was that you can create your own colors with the color picker color wheel thingy. How long has that been possible? I'm going to make a Mac Tiny tip out of just that one little bit. I showed it off at MacStock. I was so excited. Not only did Graham do a great job organizing this and explaining it in audio, but his show notes are best in class. Nobody has ever sent me notes that took so little work on my part to publish And no one, including me, has ever created better alt text for screen readers to speak the images. I'm thinking you should be a professional teacher, Graham. All right. Now, this is going to be pretty quick in. We're going to go to support the show. That's because I've got one thing to read, and then it's going to be CSUN finishing us off.
Finishing us?
Yeah. So I'm going to
okay.
do...
Gotcha.
Kevin says I should do a chapter mark, and I do whatever Kevin tells me to do. And copy the link. All right. This week's show is brought to you by the folks who support the show. Whether it's by creating content for the show, like Physics Nerd Graham, or by giving me moral support in the live chat room, or by donating financially to the podcast, go to podfeed.com/Patreon. I thank all of you for your support of the Podfeed podcast. It's not stopping. Okay. That was weird. For your support of the podcast. The weirdest thing these headphones. Oh, wow. You got real blurry. Am I as blurry as Steve? I can't hear you, Steve.
We've got some very bad bandwidth right now.
Okay. Do you want me to go check on whether...
Well, I sent Lindsay a message. Yes, do we need to stop?
It would be great. Send her a screenshot of how crappy it looks. All right.
Wait, they're not connected to the servers.
What do you mean they're not connected to the servers?
It's local, not streaming. Interesting.
Oh. What are they playing?
I think they're just playing a local game. Probably, I'm guessing the PS5 baseball game.
You know, what if we lowered our camera resolution?
I don't think that'll do it.
I'm going to do 480p. Is that any better?
Well, we can try it.
So in StreamYard, you can change it. All right. This show is going by quickly because we are now...
We're both at 480.
Yeah. Did that help anything?
You look blurry to me. But that's fine as long as you're not stuttering.
Yeah. Is it... did that improve things at all, guys?
It's too soon to tell because the stuttering is not continuous. So let's talk a little bit more and we'll find out.
Yeah, you're starting there.
No, there you broke up.
Marginally better. All right. Well, we are not on fiber today. All right,
No, we are not.
Okay, I'm going to do some actual recording here. This is going to be a pretty short show, looks like. All right. Wow, I see a spinner where the chat room should be. There we go. All right. When I made the decision to clean up... When I made the decision to clean up my sprawling podcast empire, I didn't really think about how intertwined my processes were for creating the shows. I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about the cleanup I had to do on the back end after the great podcast migration of 2024. To recap, so we're all on the same page, chit chat about the... Come here. What is going on? To recap. Audio got a little robo-ish. Oh, goody. This is going to be fun. All right. To recap, so we're all on the same page, Chit Chat Across the Pond used to have Chit Chat Lite and Programming by Stealth within it. Chit Chat Lite and Programming by Stealth were also standalone podcasts. So my changes were to, first, strip Programming by Stealth out of Chit Chat Across the Pond. Chit Chat Across the Pond would only be the Lite content then, and Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite would cease to exist.
Hey, Allison. Can you stop for a sec? I'm not sure where you are. I thought you were going to be doing cleaning up Apple contacts using smart lists. Is that not? Am I off there? Sounds like you did this last week.
What I'm talking about right now?
Yeah. It could be wrong, but this doesn't sound like the next up in your... unless I don't
You're
have
right.
the most
You're
recent...
right. This is the... Oh, I put the right title in. I just opened the wrong thing.
Okay.
That's so. In the list of things that's good to stop me for, that's a good one.
Yeah, I didn't want you to get too far.
Yeah. Wait, but I've got cleanup
Thanks,
after
Andy.
podcast migration. We're in 1003, right?
Yep. Cleaning up Apple Podcasts using smart lists takes me to the right thing.
Look at the-
You're in Mars Edit, but I'm in the blog post. The
Look
blog
at the
post is
title
correct.
of the show.
What?
Look at the
The
title
blo-
of the show.
The title is correct. The blog post is correct. The content is correct in the blog post. I think Mars Edit might be off.
Steve, the title starts with cleanup after podcast migration, and it also includes context cleanup. I think I skipped it.
What? Okay, there I lost you.
I did. I was supposed to do the cleanup after the great podcast migration of 2024. We are going to rearrange the show notes.
Okay, I'm lost now.
Look right before Physics Nerd Graham.
Yeah. But okay. That wasn't there when I first did this. That just showed up.
No.
Did you do a refresh?
No. It was there. It was there.
Hmm.
All right. So, well, I've already done Physics Nerd Graham. I've already done Support the Show. I guess I can do. Well, I've already started recording the
cleanup.
Well, the problem is they both start with cleanup.
Right. I think that's what caused confusion.
Okay. I'm going to keep going with the one I've started.
Which is the cleanup after great podcast migration, right?
Right. So I need to
Okay.
change the chapter title. Okay.
So let me just make sure. You've already talked about the podcast migration, but this is a second post about that, kind of a cleanup post?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I repeated. I guess you didn't listen to what I said.
No, I was off trying to figure out where you were.
Okay. All right. I hope that's the right link. I can't see it because this is too small. No, that's the wrong one. There you go. Okay. All right, let me see where I was. And Chit Chat Across the Pond Light would cease to exist. Chit. Cease to exist. Okay. All right, I gotta keep going. When I go back and try to fix stuff, it usually doesn't work. There we go. Finally, Chit Chat Across the Pond would also be inside the NosillaCast. Now, I knew that these changes meant changing the feeds, and I won't relive the debacle of that experience, but there were a lot more moving parts that I didn't anticipate. Let's go through those. After the migration, when I went into Feeder, the awesome app from Reinvented Software that I used to create the podcast feeds, I went to post the first vanilla Chit Chat Across the Pond episode. I realized that even though I wouldn't post new Programming by Stealth content, all of the old episodes were still in the feed. The first thing I did was download a copy of the XML file for the Chit Chat Across the Pond feed for safekeeping. So the XML file is just a text file, and that's what creates all the magic of the podcast. Then back in Feeder, I selected this Chit Chat Across the Pond feed, I did a search for Programming by Stealth, select all, and I hit delete. Then I pushed the feed, refreshed it in Overcast, and I was done. That's another reason I love Feeder, being able to do something like that where I was able to select all of those episodes and they were simply removed instantly from the feed. Now, even though the Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite feed no longer exists online, I still had it in Feeder. I could have deleted it in Feeder, but being a self-proclaimed digital, I simply dragged it into my archive folder within Feeder just in case. I very rarely edit the homepage of podfeed.com. It's purposely designed to give you a landing page where you can quickly get to the content you desire. There are 5 big buttons to take you to the blog post for each of the different podcasts, but with the elimination of Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite from the lineup, I needed to modify things. My homepage is created using tools from vendor Site Origin. My theme is Site Origin North. I can create a custom homepage using these little building blocks. I don't have a terribly sophisticated homepage compared to what Site Origin lets you do, but it does make it a little bit simpler than coding the page by hand. Using this tool does reduce my flexibility, but the lack of complexity wins me over every time. To manage the custom homepage, you plop in these little widgets that look like rectangular boxes, and you modify them with the wrench, or spanner as the Brits like to say. One of the widgets is called Layout Builder, and it's an easy way to make kind of a table of elements on a page. You can easily add rows and then drop in widgets for the images for the different podcasts and the text below each that I want to have on, and below the image I want to have on each podcast. It was a little scary to eliminate an entire column, but I managed to remove Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite. Then I realized the text under Chit Chat Across the Pond needed to change to reflect the new model. Like I said, scary to edit my homepage like this, but now it looks good. I mentioned this briefly during last week's show, but I made another huge change to the homepage last week. While sitting with Kaylee at MacStock, she berated me for how hard I make it for someone to figure out how to subscribe to my podcast. Seems like it should have been obvious to me, but it took somebody, 1,000 shows before somebody pointed it out. While you can see the artwork for the 4 podcasts and follow the links to the blog post, that doesn't give you a way to subscribe. When I designed the homepage layout years ago, I put a link in the text menus across the top to get to a few things, one of which says subscribe to the podcast. This link takes you to a static HTML page that I made that has a row for each podcast and how to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, and using the RSS feed if you use a different podcatcher. With all of the colorful buttons and icons to do other things on the homepage, though, that little text link at the top to subscribe isn't really very eye-catching. Worse yet, as Kaylee pointed out to me, on mobile the text is collapsed into a hamburger menu, so it's even less discoverable. While sitting at the table during the conference, I went into this custom homepage builder tool, and this time I edited a widget called Site Origin Hero. A hero image is the big banner or background type image you see on some websites. Mine is a photo of a Mac laptop I used to have that I had a cool old-timey microphone on. The red buttons you see across that image are part of the Site Origin Hero widget. I looked through the buttons and realized that tutorials had gotten quite stale, as I don't seem to do many of those anymore. I removed that button and I added one that says subscribe. I set the subscribe button to link to the static page that I just finished describing, and then I chose a little mic icon for the button. Now that Kaylee had pointed out to me how silly it has been of me to not have this button, I was committed to having this button be obvious. So instead of red to match all of the other buttons, I made it blue. Wild of me, right? I'm so happy with how this looks now and how it's impossible to miss that subscribe button now. Now, Kaylee, in a moment of channeling her inner John Siracusa, pointed out to me that the blue and red buttons aren't all the same height. So if you pixel peep up really close, they're ever so slightly misaligned vertically. I can't easily fix it because I think it's caused by which icons I choose for each button. But hey, thanks, Kaylee. I really appreciate you pointing that out. Now, one of the last pages I remembered to edit was this static subscribe to the podcast page. It still had Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite and the old descriptions for the shows. I knew this page was out of date, but I procrastinated working on it because it was a static page. In WordPress, the page is a simple iframe tag that points to that static HTML page. In order to edit this, I needed to use my FTP client of choice, Transmit from Panic, and edit the page. The first thing I did was to download a copy and put it away for safekeeping in case I borked the page. I wrote this HTML page after Bart taught us all about Bootstrap and responsive design in Programming by Stealth, so it works great on mobile and on the desktop. But it's been a very long time since we learned about Bootstrap, so I was a bit trepidatious about editing this file. I put a screenshot into the show notes so that you are not intended to be able to read, but gives you an idea of how much code and glop goes into making just one row of that cute table of podcasts. The reason I didn't bork this page is because Bart taught us to write comments for future us when we need to edit our own code. I had clearly listened to this part of his instructions because I could see comments that told me, here's the beginning of one section for this podcast, and here's where it ends. That made it trivially easy for me to grab all of Chit Chat Across the Pond Light and hit the delete to delete the entire row. Then it was a quick effort to edit the text describing the shows. I added Adam Hanks to the Chit Chat Across the Pond description, including a link to tidbits. Now, last year I wrote up a lengthy article for you about how I use Auphonics web service to sweeten my audio, convert my audio files to MP3, add the album artwork for the podcast, and send the file to the server for you to download. I had specific presets created for the NosillaCast, Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, and Programming by Stealth. It wasn't a lot of work, but I needed to change the Chit Chat Across the Pond Light feed to present... Nope, don't look away and not read. What was that supposed to say? Why did I look away? It wasn't a lot of work. Am I missing anything fun? Is everybody just talking about how blurry everything is? McHaggis.
We're talking about that Forbes wanted McDonald's tonight.
No. Well, I've had McDonald's and...
I know, it's been a while. I'm kind of looking forward to trying it
Yeah.
again. You think it's gotten better?
Not while I'm drinking, dear. All right. Here we go. It wasn't a lot of work, but I needed to change the Chit Chat Across the Pond Light preset to be Chit Chat Across the Pond with the correct logo and make sure the description now matched the show. If I hadn't done this work, you'd be getting Chit Chat Across the Pond episodes with artwork that said it was a light episode. Now, the last time I worked on presets, for George hadn't given us a capability to edit a preset, or at least I hadn't figured out how to do it, so I was worried I'd have to delete and recreate the presets. There's a very obvious button, and you can even duplicate a preset what you need to modify. Auphonic constantly gets better and better, so now nice little presets all ready to go. Now, one of the ways I'm able to create my podcast so quickly after I record is because I'm a heavy text expander user. Every episode means writing titles, adding links, and putting in standard text. These go into the blog post as well as the feed file, so you get nice links and text in your podcatcher of choice. Changing up the shows the way I did necessitated doing more modification of my text expander snippets than I had anticipated. The most challenging change is with Programming by Stealth. In the past, you'll remember that I would create a blog post on podfeed.com for the episode, which would give a summary of what we talked about, then the player to listen to the show from the blog post, and then a link to Bart's fabulous tutorial show notes over at pbs.bartartificer.net. With the exception of the player, that same content then gets plopped into the feed file as well. Over on Bart's side, each installment show notes include an intro, then a player to listen to the episode, and wait for it, a link to go back to podfeed.com where I'd written the summary and put the player to listen to, and directions to get to Bart's site. I don't know why this is not stopping. And directions to get to and directions to get back to the PBS show notes. I put screenshots of the original version of my snippet for this work and the new and simplified version. You can see in both that I make heavy use of embedded snippets, so if there's a change that's isolated to just one piece of a snippet that's actually used in multiple places, I only need to fix it in one place. For example, the original PBS Matching Podcast episode snippet for the PBS show notes includes the snippet CCATP EP semicolon. That stands for Chit Chat Across the Pond episode. And that plops in the text with the form CCATP _ year, MMDD. So it gives us a year, month, and date, and it's actually calculated by Text Expander for me. This snippet gets used everywhere that I point to the audio file, and it's used in the link and in the title of the transcripts. In the new and improved version of the snippet, I replaced all of the references using the CCATP snippet and swapped in the PBS equivalent, which is PBS EP semicolon, which plops in the text in the form of PBS and then year, month, date. Some of you may think this is an excessive bit of automation, but realize I've already had to type this text 169 times for Programming by Stealth, and this is the podcast with the fewest number of episodes. Now how silly does this automation sound? Well, I've told you before that my brain has like a dead spot. The next episode number should be able to be calculated. I don't know why this is true, but I've proven myself incapable of looking at any source data for a podcast and adding the number 1 to the episode number and then saying it correctly out loud and even typing it into the show notes. In fact, I don't know, didn't get any feedback from anybody, but I got the number wrong a few weeks ago. Actually, that can't be right. In fact, years ago, I mentioned this failing to Rosemary Orchard, the queen of Apple shortcuts, and she wrote me one that lets me simply ask the Escalady, next NosillaCast, or next Chit Chat Across the Pond, and it will be either hollered out on my HomePod or displayed on my screen for me. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I use it every single week before I record. I never had one for Programming by Stealth because it wasn't its own episode number. But now, since I would need to say it at the beginning of every episode, instead of saying Chit Chat Across the Pond's number, I needed to figure out how she did it for those other shows. I duplicated one of the shortcuts and then I tried to decipher it. I never could have been able to write this on my own, but it's actually pretty easy to understand. The steps are, get one item for the feed file, that's the RSS XML file I talked about on my website. Match the number using a regular expression from the title, get the group at index 1 in all matches, add 1 to that number, copy this incredibly complex calculation to the keyboard, or to the clipboard, and then show the text, the next episode of the show is, followed by the calculation. In the duplicate file, I changed the feed to the RSS XML file for Programming by Stealth instead of Chit Chat Across the Pond, and I tried it. It failed just like every single Apple shortcut I have ever written. I dropped a screenshot into Slack and I asked for help. Physics Nerd Graham immediately came to my rescue. I told you that she used regular expressions to grab the number of the latest episode, and regular expressions look basically like a cat walked across your keyboard. They're just complete gibberish. So I hadn't really inspected how Rosemary had used it to match the number in the title of the NosillaCast and Chit Chat Across the Pond. Graham pointed out that the regular expression she'd written started with a hash mark, because the original 2 shows start with NC hash and then the number, and CCATP hash and the number. So like whatever this is, NC number 1003, right? But I don't use hash marks before the number in the PBS title. As soon as I removed the hash mark from the regular expression in shortcuts, it worked a champ. Now, with any luck, you'll always hear the intro to Programming by Stealth with the right number. It's not guaranteed, of course. I said the wrong number for the NosillaCast just a month ago, in spite of Rosemary's hard work. The bottom line is there was a lot more cleanup than I'd realized I'd be dealing with when I made the changes a few weeks ago, but I think I've got a good handle on most of it. I hope you enjoyed this little behind-the-scenes nerdery on the machinery behind getting the shows posted for you.
All right.
All right. This is
So-
making me want to go look at... Oh, what were you going to say, honey?
The folks in the chat room to kind of monitor our 2 audio and video feeds, you and me, and compare them. I want to see if they're different between you and me. I'm trying to isolate this bandwidth issue.
You don't
So
think it's just
if
the
you,
bandwidth?
if you see differences between Allison and my video or audio, let me know, please.
Okay, how long is index braille? Gonna move it in here.
I seem blurrier. Okay, well,
Well,
that's
he's
helpful.
using his internal camera instead of a big girl camera.
Well, yeah. One thing I was looking to see is whether are you using your
I'm using
iPhone?
continuity, yeah, I'm using continuity camera.
So I was wondering if that caused a bandwidth or not a bandwidth, a processing drain. It shouldn't on your computer. You should have plenty of power to handle that, I would think.
Yeah. Remember, we did lower Lindsay and Nolan's bandwidth because they Cox kept increasing their cost,
Oh,
so we did lower it.
what's their upload speed?
I think it's still 10, but download
10
was
megabits per second.
megabits per second. Yeah.
10 should be plenty for what we're doing here. I'm not putting anything like that up.
Yeah. Okay, here's a more technical question here. So index braille is 826. I'm at 3144, which makes it 40 minutes. So I think I'm actually going to pull...
Index.
Yeah, I would normally keep going because it's good content, but I'm actually starting a cold, and so I think I'm going to save my voice. And since
Okay.
the bandwidth is poopy anyway,
Yeah. Good idea. So
Okay.
you're going to go straight to the second cleanup?
no, I just said I wasn't going to do the cleanup. I'm going to do the index braille because
Oh,
I don't have.
directing. I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah. All right, this is our last CSUN, right?
Yep. After I think the season was March 20th, so April,
We
May,
didn't.
June.
I didn't mill as long as we milled CES though.
Yeah. ES was from January to July, and
Yeah.
CSUN was March to July, later in July.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Okay. I'm making my titles. So let's see if I get the right title in here. All right. Ooh,
You know,
that's
if we don't move, the video is pretty good.
I feel like I'm peeking in this. All right. Let's do this file recording here. All right. He's always so the
What is
proofing
going
his
on here?
business.
There we go.
Okay. Mute. We have our final interview from the CSUN. We have our final interview from the CSUN Assistive Technology Conference, and it's actually one of our favorites. The product you hear about isn't something you'd buy for your home. You might buy it for your business, but Michael Vic-Mensuna was just delightful and funny, and we just had a blast talking to this guy. And we actually made plans. If we ever get to Sweden, we are totally looking this guy up and maybe taking him out for dinner or something, because he was just such a blast to talk to. Anyway, let's hear about Index Braille high-speed embossers from Michael. You think that's pronounced Michael? Or is it Mikhail? Mikael, and he's Swedish.
It might be Mikhail, but Mikael sounds like a Mikhail, or looks like a Mikhail.
Let's find out how I introduced him, because I'll redo it because I asked him right beforehand, I think. Let's just have a listen to the beginning here. Braille high-speed embossers from Michael. So I just walked up to Michael Vic-Mensuna and I said,
There you
I
go.
have never seen a Braille printer, and he represents Index Braille, and you said this is the one to see, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you stopped by here, since we've been coming a long way, starting our journey from way up northern parts of Sweden, close to the Arctic Circle, where we are building these kind of Braille embossers for 42 years now, nearly 43.
So Braille is little dots that stick up, and so embossing is what these printers do?
Yes, we actually produce the embossers, and with the embossers you can print your Braille documents.
So for the listening audience, he's holding up what looks like a blank sheet of paper, but
Yeah.
if you look closely, it's got little dots all over it. I
Yeah.
saw that at lunch. Somebody read a Braille menu. It's crazy.
Yeah. This is actually one of those Braille manuals. And we print interpoint. That means it's printed double-sided. So we actually print on both sides of the paper.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we do that at the same time. So this document is printed like we have shipped a file over to the embosser, which prints the document, and you just bring it out, you staple it, and you got a folding line in the center of the paper. You just fold it, and voila, you got a Braille book.
Now, it's not printing the same thing on both sides. They've got to be it gaps in opposite places.
It's all
right?
calculated in a very, very smart way. We can also print like business cards with this machine.
All right. Actually, I think he doesn't have those anymore. Okay, let me cut him, splice him a little, tighten that up just a little bit.
With this machine,
Okay.
and these sheets are printed with this embosser, which is the Index Everest V5.
All right. I am going to finish us off early. There we go. 4038.
That's not bad. Steven might be a little disappointed, but
No, it's 30 minutes. Once I hit or 40 minutes. If I hit 40, I'm good. All right. I'm going to close this out here.
Thank you.
I told you that guy was fun, right? You can see why we liked it so much. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me? Oh, come on, really? Can't even say email tonight.
Thank you.
Well, I told you that guy was fun, right? We had such a great time with him. But that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or suggestion, just send it on over. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, you can go to podfeed.com/YouTube. If you want to join the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCast ways. You can go in and tell Physics Nerd Graham how awesome those tutorials were that he taught us how he does his Physics Shorts videos. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation, like George did this week at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Not enough what? How many gin and tonic? None. I've had 0. That's clearly the issue. Can't expect it to work like this. All right, it is being suggested that we do a chapter count.
I'm going to be all screwed up. You pulled 1, so I'll just subtract 1 from whatever I'm counting here.
Yeah. Stay subscribed.
5. I count 5 lights.
I see 5. All right. Let me export this.
That's what she means. You need one, Sandy says.
I do.
See? Yes, she does.
be
We
drinking.
shouldn't use the word need. You really like one.
I like John's perspective. He goes, then you must be drinking rye.
See?
Rye is actually very good for my throat when I have a sore throat. I find it soothing. It's medicinal.
And you're
as it
feeling
were.
rather coarse in the throat.
Yeah.
You want a little rye?
Maybe after the gin.
Those
All
mix
right.
so well.
Let's see. So I need to.
So is hot tea, yeah, and lemon, right? Good point, Joe.
Well, Bart says to put bourbon in the hot tea and lemon.
Yeah, is that a hot toddy?
Okay. What order did I do?
What's a hot toddy made out of?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's toddy warmed up.
Actually, it was an Irish toddy or something. Okay. So clean up. Okay, what did I talk about first? What order did I talk about? Okay, I did clean up the clean up after podcast migration. That's what I talked about first?
Yeah, I bet you do, Kevin.
No. Why do I have the same
Just
title
look at
twice?
your chapter marks.
No, I have the same title twice. Clean up after the great podcast migration at 1:30 and again at 18:35. So what did I talk about at 1:30?
The first one was the...
That's Graham. It was supposed to be Graham. So I grabbed the title for the cleanup one.
But you have the right URL?
No, it's all wrong.
Oh.
Okay. I think. I'm going to assume it's wrong. And let's see. Yep, the URL's wrong, so it wouldn't have taken you to... After talking about how fabulous his show notes were. Okay, so maybe you should... When I get these in... Oh, you won't know what order it's in. Okay, so I got Appearance and Home On. Then I did the Physics Shorts. Then I did Support the Show. Then I did Cleanup. So now I got to go get the Cleanup section. Oh, that's going to be easy. Let's see if I can screw it up anyway. Cleanup. Okay, the cleanup. When did I do that? I did that after Support the Show, right? There you go. After Support the Show, which is a little early. And then I did... Oh, and then I got to take out contacts using smart lists. And I got to start number 1004.
All right, John's got the toddy recipe. So all you have to do is replace the whiskey with rye. Well, I guess rye is a type
We
of
were
whiskey.
drinking whiskey and rye, but singing That'll Be the Day That I Die. All wrong. Okay, so now, clean up after podcast
Yes, it
migration.
is.
No, that's wrong. Okay.
No, I think it's the right recipe.
Physics shorts is
Looks
first.
good to me.
Physics shorts is first. I got to get them in order now. And second is support the show. Clean up after the, and then no contacts cleanup. Index braille. All right. For physics shorts. What are they saying?
Oh, we're talking about some higher proof alcohol and how it's made.
Okay, keynote.
And John provided a nice recipe for the hot toddies.
Index braille. Okay. Well, if this is right, it's a freaking miracle. Okay. Keynote is first. You know what? That's a short enough title. I'm going to go ahead with appearance. Actually, I'll just say Home On Podcast. So, Richard Gunther does a show like every 6 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, notice his website was not. Bless you.
Oh, his
I,
website.
I noticed his website was not secure.
Yeah.
How-
He
you-
posted the show like a month and a half after we recorded. And I took another 2 weeks to tell you about it. So it was a fun show, though.
Sounds like he won't mind that you were a little bit
Okay.
late.
Sending that to the blog. Okay, so I've sent it up. Thank you, Mike. Told you I got a little cold in my nose.
Yeah.
Achoo. And I have no mute button switch. So you can refresh, and hopefully you will see something similar to what you think you should see.
All right. Let me just see. Appearance.
Um,
I should only see one cleanup, right? Yeah, and I
yeah,
do.
actually,
Good.
can I tell you the order that you
Yeah.
should see?
Yeah.
Okay, it should be appearance on Home On,
Mm-hmm.
then physics shorts,
Mm-hmm.
support the show,
Yep.
clean up after the great podcast migration 2024, and then
Yep.
index braille.
That sounds good. All right, we're good.
All right.
It's a wrap.
I hope that I'm going to double check all these links before I go. Let's see. Home On, Patreon, podcasts. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, everybody. Save one last time. Wait a minute. Why did it need me to save again? I better export it again just in case. All right, everybody. I think we should call it. I think I need a little drinky poo, Steve.
All right. I think you've earned it.
There it is. Don't switch. All right, everybody. That's all,
Hey.
folks.
That's all, folks. Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
Sandy.
weekend.
Hope I have a voice next week. You never know. Bye. Bye, Rose.
Bye-bye.
Hope you find your dad.